Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be across the diaspora, America, the Caribbean, Africa, Europe, or the UK. My name is Lance Prince, and I'm the host of Expatriate Memories, where you, your friends, and family can, for the foreseeable future, come and share stories about immigration experiences. Ever since June 22, 1945, when the Agorese of 1700 plus pioneer and migrant traveled on HMT Empire Windrush from Jamaica and other Caribbean colonies, arrived on English shores. England shores, our diaspora has been a melting pot of diverse experiences, culture, and contacts. What we call the Windrush generation extends from that initial contact with the host community at the Tilbury Docks to the passing of the British Nationality Act of 1971. Every individual story has a unique quality which contributes to the distinctive character of our diaspora. It will be beneficial, therefore, if our great-grandparents, parents, children, and grandchildren of the Windrush generation would come together and take this opportunity to share experiences. An appreciation of the immigrant journey would be enriched and foster greater awareness of the value of their contribution to the host community as well as countries beyond. We know so far that Expatriate Memories, a series of conversation, has already attracted the support of a majority of thousands upon thousands, including in the diaspora today. But true success depends on whether we are all committed to making that happen. As far as our model is concerned, it is definitely participative and inclusive. Indeed, you can commit to the process right now by letting us know at expatriatememories@gmail.com that you are willing to join in the conversation about memories from your own immigration journey or migration of someone close may have affected you. Thank you so much for your continuing support, and should you have any suggestion as far as the reach or content, please contact us at expatriatememories@gmail.com. Thanks for joining the conversation. If after listening to these discussions you would like to participate, please remember that our motto is, the more memories the better. We invite you, therefore, to let us know you're interested in sharing your own memories by simply reaching out to us by email at expatriatememories@gmail.com. Thank you. Welcome, friends, wherever you are, to Expatriate Memories. I am your host, Lance Prince, and in this series of conversation, our Caribbean family will share stories of immigration to countries that seem to offer them an opportunity for prosperity and a productive life. The significant wave of migration from the Caribbean known as the Windrush generation is so named because Her Majesty's troopship Empire Windrush carried 1,027 Jamaicans and other Caribbean immigrants to England 75 years ago, arriving at Tilbury Dock on the 22nd of June, 1948. 15 days later, Prime Minister Clement Attlee wrote to a Member of Parliament saying, and I quote, "I note what you say, but I think it would be a great mistake to take this immigration to the UK too seriously. Too much publicity has been attached to the present Agorese of Jamaicans. The majority of them are honest workers who came to make a genuine contribution to our labor difficulties." End of quote. Today is Sunday, April 23rd, 2023, and my co-host is my daughter, Arancha, who is at the University of Colorado Law School, having graduated from New College, Sarasota, where her academic curiosity sparked an interest in learning more about the experience of Jamaican families who were part of the Windrush generation, the way in which they dealt with family disruption and separation, and the challenges of adapting to a society with unfamiliar customs. Her final thesis of New College was "Off to the Mother Country, Community Cultural Wealth, and the Construction of Empowered Motherhood by Windrush Jamaicans Transnational Mothers." Welcome to all to making our interesting conversation, and my special thanks to our guests for making herself available, and to my co-host who will formally introduce Miss Lorraine Foster and set the stage for this session of Expatriate Memories. And now I invite my daughter Arancha, my co-host, to explain her fascination with the pattern and permutations of immigration. She will introduce Miss Lorraine Foster, who, on the basis of her treasured memories, I am pleased to welcome to today's conversation. Arantxa, you go ahead.
Thank you so much to my co-host for that gracious introduction. My name is Arantxa Florida, as many as you know me as Renchi. I've always had a love for history, and I got to further explore this during my time at New College of Florida, and this fascination helped me produce my thesis. During my research, I was really inspired by the way these mothers found community in this completely new territory and used it to empower their families and pass down these traditions. With these conversations, we keep legacies alive today and ensure that their history will always be remembered. Today, our guest is Lorraine Foster, also better known as PET. And to all who shall listen to our conversation, I extend a hearty welcome. So at this time, Auntie PET, if you'd like to introduce yourself, I'd be more than happy.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'd love to introduce myself. My name is Lorraine Foster, better known as PET if you're family, friend, close loved ones. And I'm so glad to be here this morning to talk with my cousins Lance and Ranchi about our experience of Black Britain and what that means and how that came into being. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really excited to take this journey with you guys.
And before you ask the first question, Arantxa, where I'm curious to know where you got the nickname from, Pet.
Well, as you know, Lance, like lots of other Jamaicans, I'm not called by my right name within my family. So it came about because I am the youngest in my family, and pet is a phrase that's used in the north of England to mean my beloved one, almost my little beloved one. So my dad called me Pet, and everybody followed suit ever since.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a tradition in the north of England for that. But it's a tradition in Jamaica for boys to have nicknames. But very rarely I hear a girl have a nickname that's stuck throughout her lifetime. So I am very intrigued. So yeah, thank you for that. Ranchi, you had known that?
No, I mean, because I have a nickname. I
Well, yes,
didn't
yes.
know it was a boy thing, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And your nickname kind of close to your name, but
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so we can't do this conversation because we know yes, Pet. So we do that conversation this way, Pet. So Ranchi, you go ahead and ask the first question.
Yeah. Good morning, Auntie Pet. One question that I kind of want to start with is, what was your first time, like your first memory of Jamaica? And not just like going there, but kind of just like whether like you knew it in the house from like reggae or the food, or if your first memory was like maybe your parents visiting for the first time. So kind of just like what was your first memory ever of just like knowing about Jamaica or like learning about it?
It was always a part of my life. So
Mhm.
even as a very small child, I understood that I was Jamaican. I didn't understand my parents were and I wasn't. They were Jamaican and I was Jamaican. We were a Jamaican family. I ate the same foods. I listened to the same music. We had lots of plaques of the island of Jamaica, which people brought back when they came to Jamaica on holiday. So yeah, there was never a time in my life that I wasn't conscious that I was Jamaican and of Jamaican heritage, always.
So
And I guess kind of going into that, how did that like shape your schooling or like when you started school?
Well, I mean, the first thing to comment is when I first got to school, I didn't even really know my name was Lorraine because everybody called me Pet. So the first surprise was being at school on the first day and looking for who was Lorraine Foster. So yeah, that was interesting. But I suppose just every aspect of my life, schooling was just one of those aspects where I went to school with other children who were also Jamaican. Most of my friends, I did say probably about 7 or 8 friends, were also Jamaican. And their brothers and sisters had gone or were going to the same school. My sisters had gone to the same school. So my whole experience in school was one of being not necessarily being a black girl in school, but being a Jamaican girl in school and all that meant.
So you were the youngest of how many, Pet?
Youngest of six, well, six, I say six, actually, youngest of eight. I have my sisters who were also born in England, Joy, Jean, and Sonia. I have my brother David, who was born in England but died quite early on when he was 10. I have my sister Lorna, who was born in Jamaica, and my brother Roy and my sister Bev, who were also born in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, quite a few of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always aware that my certainly my sister Lorna and my brother Roy, although born in England, were also part of the family.
I mean, born in Jamaica, yeah.
Sorry, born in Jamaica, yeah, were also part
of
of our family, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious, what did it mean to you, to say, growing up, and you were Jamaicans, you were a Jamaican in Britain in the 1970s, I would say. What did it mean to you? Did you feel any different? Did you feel like you weren't British? Did you feel like you belonged somewhere else? There are just so many questions coming into my mind. How did it feel?
Yeah. Do you know what? I didn't feel like I belonged somewhere else. I just felt that I got up every morning and I was lucky to be Jamaican because everything about Jamaica and being Jamaican was popular. The music was popular. The way we dressed was popular. The way we spoke was popular. Everybody was trying to emulate and to be some aspect of Jamaican. So, you know, Bob Marley was popular. Sound systems were popular. Everything was popular. So I woke up. I didn't have to make any effort. I was just Jamaican. I was already popular. I was already fabulous. So it was all good from my perspective.
Yeah. You were so proud. It's almost like embracing it to say, yeah, this is you. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess with that, did you notice like any like different treatment kind of like in the classroom or just like you're Jamaican, but obviously like you're still in the school with like other British people. Did that affect anything at all for you?
Nah, you know what, Ranchi? I was way smart. I was smart, you know, 5. I was obviously very smart. But I think that comes from being the youngest in the family, and I learned as my older sisters learned, and my mom and dad were very clear that, you know, we needed to read books, do jigsaws, do crossword puzzles. So, you know, once I got to school, I was already probably 2 years ahead in my thinking than other people. So it didn't make any difference with teachers and so forth because I was way bright. So it was, you know, it was all good. I also had the benefit amongst, well, I say benefit, there was two-sided coin. I also had the benefit of being red and being pretty. And you know what, pretty people anywhere in the world get a little bit of an easier passage in life.
Yeah,
So
privilege.
it's true though, Lance. You're laughing, but that's because you come from a pretty family.
You get nature's passport, I call it. Don't worry, I understand exactly what you mean.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So I had a combination that was working for me and would probably have worked for me anywhere. And I didn't really, in the education system, up until no, I didn't face at all racism that impacted me in that way.
Oh.
It was after school that I then found that there were some challenges and some difficulties. But during school, no, I had a fairly easy ride.
And when you say red, what do you mean? In Jamaica, what we call browning? Is that what you talk?
Yeah. We was
That song became popular afterward, which she had to recant afterward. But yeah.
Yes.
They call it like light here.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Ranchi.
Yeah. All of those phrases, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So that was a terminology you used in Britain at the time, browning, or you use a different one? You say red.
red. You were red skin, you were light skin, you were fair skin. It was all about what shade you were. And I just happened to come out the shade that was popular. That was I think particularly in English society, that was acceptable and easier to manage.
No, man,
So yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about, Pet. Don't worry. You get, yeah, as I said, nature's passport. If you're born with that, you get a whole heap of pass. So yeah.
yeah,
But it's just a reality of life and you can't call it in a racist world where it's like if you're lighter skin and closer to the race that
Like white.
dominate the world for the last 500 years, you get an easier pass. That's a given.
yeah,
Whether we want to like it, yes or no. That's just the reality of the world. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We can't get that
Mhm.
out of the way, around it. Don't, it's not like we can't quarrel with it in a sense because we can't change it. That's the reality in a sense. It's hard for.
But you know what, Lance? It's been beneficial to me in lots of ways, and I recognize that, particularly in comparison to my son. My son is not red. He's male. He's black. He's grown up in England, and a lot of the passes that I've had in life because of being red, being easy on the eyes, being smart, he hasn't had those. He's had a very, very different experience to me as his mother. So, it's not, I don't want to sort of make out that that's the experience that all of us have, because we don't, absolutely don't all of us have. And my son doesn't have that experience.
No, no, Pet. I fully recognize that. I fully recognize and accept that because you come in this world, you don't choose how you look, how your parents, and how you come out. And you sometimes I
Yeah,
say you're blessed with certain things, and you're right. I mean, and it's good that you recognize it because a lot of people don't. I recognize it too. So you're blessed with a certain way you look and how you, and your complexion and your skin, and you get a woolly papas. But not everybody does have
yes,
that nature's passport, as I say. So yeah. No, it's good that you
yeah,
recognize that, Pet, because a lot of people in that position, in a sense, it's almost like a privileged position, and you don't recognize it. You think everybody
yeah.
can do what you can do, and it's not the case at all. It is not. It is not. And get rid of it.
Mm. And interestingly, Lance, in my professional life, I have been told to use that teacher's pass by white people. They've said you are acceptable and therefore utilize that. Don't be ashamed to utilize what you've got in your quest to develop in your career, to challenge, to move forward, because you're acceptable just by the way you look and your level of intelligence and whatever letters you've got after your name. That makes you acceptable. Use it.
Aren't you just said them that call passing white?
No, it's kind
Not,
of like
not at all.
no.
Not at all. Not at all. You're definitely, obviously black,
Yeah.
but you are a shade. And it's interesting that it's the shade, your level of intelligence, the combination is what makes you. I know some people who are, as you say, Lance, almost passing white, but because they don't necessarily have the level of intelligence, because they don't necessarily um, profile themselves in a certain way, they don't get that path.
Mhm.
I just said, like I said, I just think I was lucky enough or not in some aspects to have that combination and know how to use it to my advantage.
No, no, I can identify exactly what you're saying because you and I are about the same complexion. I grew up in Jamaica, and yes,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, you you get away with a whole heap of things depending upon how you look. And I just say if you're a little more educated or you can use the brain where you have, it work out for you. And I definitely
Mm-hmm.
couldn't pass wide, so I know exactly. I was just tongue in cheek when I throw that out. You know?
And I kind of want to add that, like, I think colorism, I think is past white people too, because it's really prevalent in Jamaica as well. Like, I remember reading
Mm-hmm.
articles about like certain dark skinned people being passed for like management positions or just like not getting the job in counter for like a lighter skinned person who had like the same credentials, just because like that's looked as more favorable like than a dark skinned candidate. So, and it's crazy because like Jamaica's like what 97, 98% of like Black people
Yeah,
are like
yeah,
Afro-Caribbean
yeah.
people, so it's like even there it's still like prevalent and like permeates itself. I blame colonization, but that's another story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is an issue. It is an issue, and I'm glad that we can talk about it openly, Pet, and admit and understand. Say, yeah, we benefit from it, but not everybody have the blessings of how you're born and how you look. 'Cause it's a blessing. It's a blessing. So,
Mhm.
so because of that, then you're saying that you grew up in the British school system, and it wasn't even an issue for you at all in terms of the fact that you were Jamaican and you were black.
No, which is interesting as well, because I know my sisters who, I mean, my sister Joy is 7 years older than me, and my sister Jean is 5.5 years older than me, and Sonia's 4 years older than me. And you've interviewed all of them, and they had very different experiences. And although it's a very short period of time, you know, my elder sister Joy is 7 years older than me. I think we had very, very different experiences in terms of what people expected we could do. My parents always said, you can do anything. You're as good as anybody else, and you girls can do anything you wanted. I think my elder sisters perhaps were held back in a way that I wasn't held back. And although it's only a few years in the difference in our age, I probably stepped upon their shoulders to have an easier experience.
And you think it's because they paved the way, why it was easier for you, or it was more difficult for them, or things just changed in that short period of time in the UK where it was maybe would have been easier.
I think there's something about society was changing. There was in the education system was changing. I went to school, and I only recently discovered this at a time for about 10 years in the English school system, whereby they pretty much did away with grammar. So when I was in school, you were told to express yourself. You didn't have to know what full stops were and commas were or anything. You just needed to express yourself and be yourself. So I did very well at that. But it does mean that I still don't particularly write grammatically correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my sisters obviously would have had a different experience in doing those types of things. So education was changing. I was educated by post-hippie teachers,
Post who?
who had all post-hippie teachers. So those who had all been high in the 60s were my teachers in the 70s. So I think they were a little bit more relaxed.
Oh, I've
They
never
were a
heard the
little
term
bit
before. That's why
more,
I'm asking. I've never heard that term before. Yeah, yeah.
oh, hippies. Yeah, it's just a reference to people who were having a great time in the 60s.
Okay, post hippie. Sorry, I didn't hear secure hippie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got you. I got you. No, I understand. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I had a batch of teachers that were very relaxed and just were into you being yourself and express yourself and however you wanted to as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I think my sisters probably had much more strict teaching,
Old
much
fashioned teacher,
more
old school teacher. Yeah, yeah,
learned by rote.
yeah. I see what I
So I
mean.
think
No,
they had a different experience.
yeah, I see what I mean. Not that trust me. I see what I mean. Exactly what I mean. If you went to school in the early 70s, I started school late 70s, you'd have a different type of teacher than us. You're right. Even in Jamaica, that started happening too. But yeah, I see what I mean.
Yeah, it was reversed after 10 years, though.
Mm-hmm.
After 10 years, they said, they're recognising the teaching system, that they were producing a whole load of children who couldn't really spell or write grammatically and were very busy, doing drama and art and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So they changed it back. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't keep it for a long time. But yeah, definitely I was in that period where school was chilled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And talking about school, who were some of the friends you went to school with at the time? Were you the same friends you had in school as the neighborhood you grew up in?
Yes, definitely. And all my friends had older brothers and sisters that went to school with my elder brothers and sisters.
Okay, I got
So
you.
it was, you were families of children that went through school. So you knew everybody else's brother and sister as well. But yeah, they were all from the local community. Although at about 11, I moved out of that area, moved quite far away, but still went to school in the same area. So I travelled probably about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes to school, and everybody else was a maximum of about half an hour. That brought some difficulties and some challenges.
Because of the traveling, because you were going to a different school, not the school where you were living then.
I didn't go to the school where I lived. I went to the same school where I had lived before.
Mm-hmm.
So I still saw the same people, still went to the same school. But because I was going to have an hour and 15 minutes or sometimes an hour and a half to get home, it meant that I was excluded from the after school activities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think our relationship changed. And I became a little bit more of an outsider because I wasn't always in, and at the weekends I wasn't there either. It became quite different.
And what percentage of the children, the friends you grew up with, like white, West Indian, what percentage, if you remember, in terms of like your classroom or your neighborhood, what was it like?
Yeah, I had a group of friends, and we all, as I said, had brothers and sisters who'd gone to the same school. So it's probably about eight or nine little Caribbean girls, and we went to school together almost all of our schooling life. So it seemed like half the school was from Caribbean parentage, but it was probably less. But, like most, and most were Jamaican, because we were always so exuberant, because we were always so loud, because we were always achieving in all of the wonderful things. We always did really well in sports. We did really well in music. And some of us, like myself, did really well academically. We were always being highlighted. And then we were also really good at being bad as well. So we were good at being good and good at being bad. So it seemed like whole school was Jamaican, but it probably wasn't.
All right. But you said something though, and I have to ask for clarification, not clarification, but just your thought on it. Because you said Caribbean friends, and at the same time you said Jamaicans. How you differentiate between being Caribbean and Jamaican? Was there a difference? You do recognize the difference growing up? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, we definitely did. I mean, I listened to the podcast you did with my sisters, and that thing about people from Small Island. I had a friend called Carol, and her parents were from Barbados. She might as well have come from another planet, really. So she didn't promote the fact very often that her parents were from Barbados. I think most people in our school who were part of our group would have thought we were all Jamaican. But we definitely knew there were, people from Trinidad, people from Barbados, people from other small islands who were not Jamaican, who were just hanging on our coattails, really.
So hold on. It sounds like what you're saying, that maybe a lot of Caribbean people were in your neighborhood, but they never identified themselves as such. They just identified as Jamaican because of the overwhelming presence, or I want to say enthusiasm, I'm using up the right word, of Jamaicans for dominate.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. If you ask the average white person that lived where I lived when I was, 11, 12, you ask them, they would describe everybody as Jamaican. So they didn't have an idea that people were from Trinidad or Barbados,
or
and
Grenada,
they didn't use the word.
Lucia,
they didn't use the word Caribbean. I don't think I ever met a person from Grenada or St. Lucia Lands until I was about 40. I'll be honest.
Wow.
So everybody who was black when I was little was Jamaican. And there weren't any Africans where I live, other than where my mum worked in the hospital. There were some African doctors and nurses, but they weren't really part of the community, so to speak, because they were visiting. They were doing their rotation or their residency and stuff, and they were going. So they weren't really part of the wider community, so to speak. And that was all considered to be Jamaican.
Ranchi, I have a question. Hold on, Ranchi. I know you have questions, Bunny, but I have a question for Pet about this because I'm just curious, Pet, in terms of like, and this is despite the fact that during the 1970s, I grew up in the 70s. I'm a little older than you. I'm old like your sister, Jane, about the same age. I grew up when the West Indies cricket team was the most dominant cricket team in the world. And there was a Jamaican cricket team, and they came to England in 1976, I remember, and dominated England cricketers. And despite all of that, you're saying that it was a struggle for people to realize it wasn't just Jamaica. They never said the Jamaican cricket team, they said the West Indian cricket team. How come it never permeated throughout the society, even with the dominance of the West Indian cricket team?
Yeah, but it's like I said, Lance, Jamaicans were just at the forefront of everything that was exciting. I mean, we were exciting people in all dimensions. And therefore, like any popular culture, it was, how do you label that? Where do you place that? And it was placed correctly, I feel, at the door of Jamaicans, because we were the people that were most exciting. We were the people that were most creative. We were the people that were, we went to dance hall and we went to blues, and the music was on the radio, and we were on, there was a show called Top of the Pops that was on for years, and we were on Top of the Pops, and just everything about Jamaican culture, the food and the festivals and carnival in London and all of that sort of stuff was attributed to Jamaicans, and Jamaicans were exciting and popular.
Ranji, you have any question on this?
No, and I was gonna ask, and it's kind of been answered, just like, how do you think like pop culture kind of like help push out Jamaica into like England and make it like a really, really big thing? And I know obviously you talked about Carnival, or even just like Bob Marley and like the really big like reggae music movement. So kind of just like if you want to speak more on that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that lots of Jamaican records were released in England before they were even released in Jamaica. Jamaican artists used to come to England and produce their music here, and it was released here before it hit anywhere else. And so there was an appreciation. There was a whole system. There were studios. There were places where you could perform your music. There was, we had sound systems, sound clashes, all sorts of stuff. There was a whole ecosystem around Jamaican music that existed in English cities. So London, Birmingham, Manchester. And so I think there was a stage where Jamaican music was probably more English Jamaican music than it was even Jamaican music, because it was produced here.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but there's a particular song that runs through my mind where I know about where they said they might call us pirates, they might call us illegal oppressors.
Yes,
because what the history behind that Arancha was that they were banning the music on the radio in England at the time. But the Jamaicans, as usual, didn't care. They just went around and created their own piracy radio station. Just because we play what the people want. Chaba that song, yeah. I know you're talking about it. So yeah. No, that is. So the music. So when were you introduced first to Jamaican music, Pet? When you realized that the Jamaican music was special to you, and which song did it, or which artist did it for you?
Which song we talk? I mean, I always knew it was special. We used to have my parents would have parties, and we always had a New Year's Eve party. And so, like most little children now, I was, 1 or 2 years old dancing to reggae. So it was always part of my life. It wasn't something that that was introduced to me. It was just a normal part of my life. So, I don't know. I mean, my mom had always bought, Bob Marley's latest album straight away. So we always had that. We always had I don't know, so many artists, I suppose. It was just, I suppose, when I started to recognize artists, so to speak, it was things like, really in my teenage years, or a little bit later, when it was things like Yellow Man and stuff like that. But yeah, there wasn't a particular artist, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I just listened to
Everything.
I listened to, all the time. And my brother-in-law, Trevor, we used to go to my sister's every Friday and every Saturday. And all day Saturday, Trevor played music.
Yeah,
All day
he
Saturday and
talked
always
about that. He had a
the
sound
song.
system. Yes, he has spoken about that. He had a
Yeah,
sound system to himself.
yeah, they used to build their own boxes, which are like about 6 foot high with enormous things. I mean, now you get that in a tiny little
Yeah, you get the
in
sound.
a tiny little thing, don't you? But yeah, there used to be like 6 foot high boxes, and Trevor used to have stuff like that, and tweeters, and I don't know, all sorts of stuff he used to have. It was a whole production.
Yeah, it was.
And
I'll,
so all day Saturday, I listened to reggae music, and Sunday on the radio. Yeah, just part of my, and I went out clubbing, and yeah, all the time.
disturb the neighborhood, as Bob would say. I want to disturb the neighborhood with music. So yeah, yeah. So Ranch, if I explain that to you, I don't know. I know you don't know that history at all. In Jamaica in the 70s and clearly in the UK, the music was played on big speakers. The taller the speaker were like 18 inches, sometimes 16, 18 inches, and the boxes were taller than you. If you get the most sound and the loudest sound. So, as Spencer,
Yes.
these days, just the smallest speaker, I get the same volume. So, yeah. It was something else, though. I know exactly what you're talking about, Pet. I grew up in that too in Jamaica. It was the same sort of culture where somebody in the neighborhood might have a set and you follow the set and you go party with him on Friday night or Saturday night just to follow the set and listen to music. So yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about
Good times.
well, great time, great time. Ranji, you have any questions?
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to shift gears a little bit to talk about like your relationship with your siblings and obviously like your ones in England, but like also the ones in Jamaica as well. And kind of just going through that. I don't know the best way to start it, but yeah.
So my relationship with my siblings. I mean, my sisters that are born in England, we've always been very close, very tight. So I think we were just normal sort of sisters that hung out together. As I said, my sisters are all a bit older than I am. So there were times when I couldn't do things that they did. So they used to go to a youth club, and the youth club, there were lots of other Jamaican children. So they'd go play table tennis, and they would do art and things like that. And they'd meet boyfriends and things like that at this youth club, which is attached to the church. And they were allowed to go, but I was too young. So there were always stuff that I couldn't do that I was desperate to do with my sisters that I couldn't because I was too young. So I was always bitterly disappointed in the fact that I wasn't the same age as they were, because they seemed to do really exciting things. Like I said, they had boyfriends, and they went out to this youth club, and they'd do, fabulous things, it seemed to me at the time, that I couldn't. So, but we still had a really close relationship, and wherever I could go, I was always sort of taken along with particularly my elder sister Joy. And I remember she had a friend, and they used to pick me up when I was little. And one day when I was about 7, they said, "Oh no, we can't pick you up anymore because you're too heavy." And I was gobsmacked. I was horrified that they weren't going to be babying me anymore. But we were really close, and I had fabulous relationships with them. And my sister Lorna, my sister Lorna was always part of my life, but we didn't have a relationship until later on when I visited Jamaica. Most people say I look like Lorna. She and I look a lot alike. And as adults, we certainly developed a very close relationship for a long, long time, and remain close now. And then there's my brother Roy. We don't have so much of a close relationship. And I think that's much more because he's my father's child rather than my mother's child. I don't know. But certainly when I meet up with him, we're just siblings. So we hang out, we chat, we laugh. And even if I haven't seen him for 3 years or spoken to him for that time, we just get right back into being siblings. So yeah, I think I have a really close relationship with them, but their experiences and the age difference has meant that they've been experiencing things at different times. And I've wanted to emulate them a lot of my life, looking up to them as siblings that I was proud of, that were doing exciting things, that were leading the way. So I've always looked up to all of my siblings, trying my best to catch up, but never quite catching up because they're always going to be older than I am. A little bit crazy, I know, but yeah.
Let me ask you a question about your cousins, though, because I grew up in Jamaica, and we come from a big family. Our grandmother had 11 of them, and I grew up in Jamaica, where cousin was around us all the while. My mother, two other sisters, Sister Gally and Kitty. And then I know that your mother had two other sisters with her in England. So it was like, what was the relationship like? And then what relatives in the country, right? But it was like the two sisters who live in Kingston. They lived in Kingston with us. We had close relationship with those cousins. Almost like feel like we grew up together as brothers and sisters. What was it like with you and your cousins and your two aunts side that came to England at the same time as your mom?
Yeah, well, I was really, really close to my Auntie Kathleen. Kathleen, that is, say it in English. I mean, we call her Kathleen, but her name was actually Kathleen. So my Auntie Kathleen and I were really, really close. Being my mother's youngest child, my Auntie Kathleen was always sort of took me on. So I used to go and stay with her every summer for 5 weeks of the summer. I packed my bags gladly and went to stay with her and my cousins, and had a fabulous time. They lived in Birmingham, which, I mean, Birmingham is, I don't know, half an hour from Wolverhampton where we lived, but it was like another country, honestly. It was even more Jamaican, if you could even get that chance. And yeah, they had a really close community on the street where they lived. So my aunt and my uncle used to have a house with an attic, and they always had lodgers living in the attic, and their house was an open house where people from the community came all the time. So you were there on a Saturday, and about another 15, 20 people from the community would pass by. It was almost like you see like a black barber shop. Some people came and got what they wanted and left, and other people just hung out all day. That was what my aunt and my uncle's house was like. So I had a very strong relationship with my cousins in Birmingham, and as I said, spent every summer with them. And even now, when my cousin was 60 the other day, my cousin Pauline was 60, we went to her birthday party, and I saw friends that were friends as children who were like, "What, Pet, long time no see, oh, you're getting on, blah, blah, blah," because we spent so much time together every summer. Even their friends are my friends still. So it's a very close relationship with my cousins in Birmingham.
You want to call out the name, Pet? That sounds like fun. Just going to that house. That sounds like really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, Pauline, Shirley, Craig, Pam. Pam is no longer with us. She died many years ago. And Robert used to be there as well. Robert's my younger cousin, who was brought up by my aunt in Birmingham. But his mother, my Aunt Rose, actually died. She actually died when I was about 4. So Robert was just a baby when his mum died. So my aunt in Birmingham took him and brought him up for a number of years until he was in his teenage, before he came back to live with my uncle in Wolverhampton.
Yeah,
Um,
before we talk about Aunt
Go ahead.
Rose's children, I just want to mention something about when Kathleen came to Jamaica in 1974. She and Pam came, and she
Yes.
always talk about Little Robert. That's how she described him. Little Robert. It was like
Yeah.
her baby, right? And I mean, Aunt Rose had died maybe a year or 2 before, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Mommy had gotten a telegram, because that's how we got news in those days, Ranchi. A telegram. I don't know if you know what that is. Mama got a telegram saying that her sister Rose passed away, like the day before. So that's how the news was spread during those times. So yeah, but so I know about Little Robert, Pitt, and I know about
Yes.
Aunt Kathleen came to visit Mommy in the early 1970s, 74, I think.
Yes.
And Pam came with her. I remember it was years, I just about 50 years ago that now, thinking about that. You mentioned that memory came up to me. So yeah, but so talk about your other set of cousins then now from Aunt Rose's side, who what died much earlier, much younger than years ago, as I say.
I just want to say one quick thing about Auntie Kathleen and that trip though, Lance, to Jamaica, is that when she and Pam were on the flight and they were going over the Bermuda Triangle, the flight had been so rough that Auntie Kathleen never came back to Jamaica after that trip.
No, I hear about that particular trip. Ranchi, those particular early trips what Jamaicans made back home, it was like they may have well been traveling back on the banana boat. I'm telling you. No, it was I remember I was a little old enough to remember Pet. I remember it was like what I call a chartered flight. It didn't have direct flight. It was just what we could afford as Caribbean people to come back to Jamaica. So you pay, and it's like you didn't go to the airport. You had to meet at the National Stadium or the arena for pack your ranch. It was. I am not surprised that you didn't come back to Jamaica at all. But after that experience, it's like you say no.
Yeah, I remember Auntie Kathleen telling that story herself. Me hold on, pam for life, and me beg God, for carry me, for make we reach. I mean, I never go back again, never go back. So she made one trip back to Jamaica in her whole time, and So I just wanted, that just came to mind. She came, but she never came again.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That was unfortunate. I know about that trip, and even Pam experience wasn't good. Mosquito bite her up, and it was a terrible thing. So yeah. It's a picture she no longer here to give memories of that trip, because that would be fascinating to hear.
It was. Yeah, but my other cousins on Aunt Rose's side, I mean, Aunt Rose died, as I said, when I was about 4. So my only memory of Aunt Rose really is lying on the sofa, ill. And I remember her having really long hair and her lying down and her hair touching the floor. I suppose I know Aunt Rose through other people's descriptions of her, that she was a really gentle soul, that she was so loving and sweet and kind, which is in very, much in contrast to descriptions of my mother and my Auntie Kathleen, who are much more fiery, much more much more robust,
much more
Jamaican
temperamental.
Women.
Yes.
That's the word, temperamental. I don't know if Aunt Rose's memory is just because people tend to remember those that die young fondly, and don't tend to maybe describe them as they were. But certainly my memory of her is of somebody being very gentle. And as I said, that's been influenced by
Don't miss it. I can mention something about that, because Aunt Rose remind me of my mother. And it's funny that both of them had name of flowers. Mama was Lily. Yes. And both of them had the same temperament. So it sounds like, and Mama was like that. It was like, a rancher can attest to her, because her grandmother in terms of said, I nothing bothered her. There was
Yeah.
never hear a word, never hear a quarrel with nobody at all. It sounded like that was Aunt Rose.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as you know, Lance Ranchi, there are some within the family are very loud, very can complain and cuss and go on and bad. They're bad. Yeah. But Entourage wasn't one of those. It wasn't one of those.
Yeah, neither was
Yeah.
mommy. Neither was mommy. So I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. So I don't
Mm,
know where I get my temperamentality from. So yeah, but go ahead. Yeah,
yeah.
not
So
from her.
I mean, and Entre's children. So there's Dorrit, there's Colin, Jacqueline, Mark, Derek, Tracy, and Robert. And I suppose I don't remember the time when we were as close, because once Aunt Rose had died, and after my uncle Jimmy then got married to someone else, we didn't go to their house as often. We were not as close as we were, obviously, when my aunt was alive, because my mom and her sister, Rose, were very, very close. My dad always describes at my Aunt Rose's funeral that my mum fainted and almost fell to her sister's grave. That was how struck she was by the loss of her sister. So I think my mum and Aunt Rose were very, very close. And once she died and some other woman had come into her place,
In her
I don't
space.
think my mum was comfortable with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we weren't always as close to our cousins, although they lived closer. We lived in Wolverhampton and they lived in Wolverhampton. We weren't always as close. I was probably much closer to my cousins in Birmingham than I was to my cousins in Wolverhampton. That's not to say we're not close now, because we are very close now. We see each other all the time. I did say to my cousin Derek the other day, we were, as I said, we were at some party. There's never ending, isn't there? There's christenings, there's weddings, there's funerals, and there's so many of us. So I saw my cousin Derek, and I said, we were talking, and I said to him, but Derek, you know what? As cousins, you and I see each other far more than most cousins do. I said, guaranteed 3 or 4 times a year, we are at an event together. So I still routinely see my cousins as these events, marriages, christenings, birthdays, weddings, all sorts of events. I still regularly see my cousins.
Rand, do you have any comment on this part of the discussion or any questions?
No, and I think it's kind of just like, I don't know. I know we talked a lot about community previously, like in past podcasts, and I think it kind of just like brings in the theme of community even more, just like being close and connected with cousins and siblings and those types of things. But I
Yeah,
don't have like a question in mind particularly,
yeah.
so
I did when I just listened to you talk about when you did your research to talk about like how the extended community is so helpful, and it's like it's so much on a
Mhm.
pet in terms of like so much cousins. And but I can't see
Yeah.
why. I can't see why. No, I understand why in terms of say like there was almost like whether rightfully or wrong, a distance developed between that side of the family and yours, because and ours really we lost it because after our aunt died, it became different. It was a
Mm.
different trajectory. No, not it's not a criticism. It's just the reality of life. Just reality of life. Just want to make sure
Yeah.
it's just the reality of life. So yeah, but it's good that you still remain in touch. Still remain in touch. I've been in touch with one of them, Jacqueline, and I'm hoping
Okay.
want to hear these conversations that she and her sisters will come on. Cause I'm really curious to know, because I don't know them. I mean, like I know you and I know Kathleen and Pam to a lesser extent, but I know Ono good. But and I'm going we're coming up to that where I know end up with Ono so good. But yeah, I really
Yeah.
get to know Aunt Rose children them. Just the history
Mhm.
behind them and the stories behind them. So for that alone, I'm looking for
Yeah.
a conversation with them. So yeah. When she hears this, I hope she get prompted for this. So yeah, I'm come talk to land. So yeah.
Yeah. And Tracy as well. Tracy, well, I'm sure Tracy and Derek and
No, man, yeah.
Mark, them
All of them, man. I want
would
to hear the
love
source from
to.
all of them because you realize,
And
yeah, go ahead, Pet. Sorry.
Tracy's been in Jamaica lots of times.
Yeah, but I've
Our
never
cousin
met her. That's the thing.
Tracy.
I've never met her.
Have you not?
No,
Oh,
right.
okay.
Because, I mean, when was she last in Jamaica? She's been in Jamaica. I can't remember. I've been living here in the States
She was.
for 23
She's
years.
going She's going to Jamaica in the summer.
But what, I
She was
mean,
last probably just before the pandemic. Tracy goes all the time.
no, I'm saying, Pet, is
Yeah,
that I have not been back to Jamaica in the last 7 years. And since I migrated here to Orlando for the last 23 years, I've not been back to Jamaica regularly. So maybe that's
yeah,
one
but
of the reasons.
Tracy's been in America as well. Tracy's a traveler.
Oh, yeah,
Tracy travels quite a bit,
yeah.
so she's a traveler.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to meet them all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because you know, like Milda, them and Uncle
yeah.
Sonny, them and that really well. Sister Gally, yeah, she know all of those really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm looking forward to that conversation and that thing. So yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun, for sure.
So at what age you got the curiosity and say, when you're growing up with your parents, then did you ever think that you want to go to Jamaica, or did you hear them say they want to go back home?
Lance, can I tell you something? I am the only one of my sisters, apart from my sisters born in Jamaica, that is actually a Jamaican citizen.
Oh, really?
I have Jamaican citizenship.
Oh.
My father was here some years ago, and it was very clear to me that I wanted to have Jamaican citizenship. One, because it was something I wanted to do in terms of living in Jamaica. And two, because I didn't want for it not to be an option for my children and my grandchildren in later life to claim their Jamaican heritage. So it was important for me to claim mine now. So my father was here, I don't know, maybe between about 10, 15 years ago. We went to the Jamaican embassy. We took all my details. We took my dad's details. And I did all the things for my citizenship. And I have dual citizenship. I'm a Jamaican citizen.
Oh, so how does that process work? You decide you want to come, and once your father is Jamaican, you automatically get it, or you have to fill out all that work?
Your parents, you have to fill out the forms and stuff. If your parents are Jamaican or your grandparents are Jamaican, you can claim Jamaican citizenship.
And don't have a bit
So
both
I
parents,
made
it can be
sure.
either one.
It can be either one. But my father just happened to be here that summer staying with me.
Okay,
and he and I just went up to the embassy and sorted out, because I was very clear. I wanted, as I got older, to have the option to live in Jamaica. I actually wanted to buy some land at Patty Hill, you know, by Granny Root, some time ago, and I'd gone to Jamaica, but I was advised against it. Which I think was the right decision. But I remained very clear that I'd like to live in Jamaica. But as before, I was thinking I would want to live there full time. I now have the benefit of the fact that I'd like to go back and forth and live in both places. So live in England and in Jamaica part time as I get to my retirement, and enjoy both types of life. So yeah, I'm a Jamaican citizen. I have a Jamaican passport. I'm all good to go.
So when did you realize that you were so in love with Jamaica? It was because of your parents, because of your visit? And when was the first time you visited Jamaica?
I visited Jamaica first when I was 18, 1988. Lance, that trip where we came, me and my sisters and my mom, we were there for 5 weeks.
That famous
and we
trip,
had and we had a fabulous time, and we did everything. So that was my first trip, and it was such a wonderful trip that I think it was always going to be that it was somewhere that I was going to want to live. But what I did recognize for the very first time when I was 18 and came to Jamaica was that Jamaicans didn't think I was Jamaican. When they said, yo, English girl, I was like, who are they talking? That ain't me. That's not me they're talking to. I was really surprised to find out I wasn't Jamaican.
So what gave you away? Your language or your talk?
No, not at all. Not at all. I remember for some reason ending up down halfway tree, getting a taxi, asking the taxi driver. I got in and said, I want to go up a mile road. And he was like, I'm going to go them the place there, you know. So I said, come on, man, carry me go. Whatever you need me start to carry me go, yeah? So he took me. And when we got to Sister Gally's house, I paid him. And I was like, oh, thank you very much. That was a really lovely trip. And he said, wait, where you come from? I said, I'm English. He said, I never believe it from the way you talk. Never believe it. But I knew if I put my English accent on down at halfway tree, the charge for my fare in the taxi was going to be 4 times as much just because of the English accent. So I kept it real and said, okay, all right, come then, man. And he carried me. So yeah, I was, as I said, I was very shocked that Jamaicans didn't consider me to be Jamaican.
But hold on a bit. So you're saying because you could have done the language good enough that you fool the taxi man, right?
Yeah.
So what gave it away to other Jamaicans that them don't think you were Jamaican?
I think it was, because at the time there was a lot of focus on designer gear, designer wear. And so I think it was just the way I dressed looked like I came from foreign. It just looked like that. But when I opened my mouth, because I spoke patois so well, because I was so relaxed in the environment, that, there was this sense of, I was a contradiction. I looked one way, but I spoke another way. I profiled another way. Where she come from? Maybe she didn't go foreign when she was little and she come back and, people weren't quite sure.
So well, all right. You go ahead, Ranjit. So when I have a question, you go ahead before.
Yeah, no, just a quick question. Auntie Bet, how'd you learn the patois? Was it just through listening and talking with your parents or your siblings?
Ranching, so my daddy cannot speak English. My daddy was there for 40 years. And he never spoke in an English accent with an English word in all his time. Even now, my youngest, my 13-year-old, when she's talking to my dad on the phone, she will go, Mommy, I don't know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying. My daddy does not, I've never in my entire life spoke in an English accent. So we always spoke patois at home. We spoke patois at school with our school friends who were also of Caribbean heritage. We spoke patois at church. We spoke everywhere we went. We went to the market. We spoke patois. Even, I suppose we spoke patois all the time. So even things like you would go into the Indian man's shop and you would automatically drop into patois because he was expecting you to speak patois and you wanted the things that he had. So if you was going to buy some yam or you was going to buy some green banana or something like that, you don't put on an English accent to have that conversation. You have patois as your mother tongue, so to speak. And therefore, that's what you speak. In all places where you are relaxed and you are yourself, that's how you speak. That was the only place you didn't speak patois. As I've grown older, is in a professional context.
But
So if I'm at work, wouldn't.
You know what, Pet, it's funny that Ranchi asked, because that's the same question what you're asking about. Because Ranchi grew up in a household. I don't talk English either. It's pure patois I talk for Ranchi, and she know that, right? And her mother talk patois too. But I realize the difference in why Ranchi don't have the patois don't like you. Because the environment is not fully Jamaican. She's not surrounded by Jamaicans at all. It's like you say, you go to school with Jamaicans, when you go to church at Jamaicans, anywhere you go to shop at Jamaicans, that's not what it is in the States
Yeah.
here in Orlando at all. So it's almost like you grew up in Jamaica then, in a sense. You know? You're a Jamaican community. You must have the pot down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. But you know what, Lance? It's very much mirrored things like Italian communities in America, Jewish communities in America. There was that real close knit where you recognized with the country of origin, you proclaimed yourself to be of that origin, you were proud of it, and you mingled with other people that were similar.
So before you came to Jamaica in that famous trip in 1988, what was the expectation like? What do you expect coming into Jamaica?
Do you know, I don't think I had any particular expectation, Lance, because for me it was coming home. My parents referred to Jamaica as home. You don't have an expectation of home. Do you know what I mean? It's not somewhere you're visiting. It's somewhere you're going back to. I expected to fit right in. I didn't have any expectation that I wouldn't. I expected I would be able to eat all the food, go to all the places. I never had any expectation because I was Jamaican. That was what I was. So it's not like, if you said to me, oh, when you went to China, what was that like? Well, that would be a completely different experience. Yeah. That would be me as a foreigner going somewhere. And I was going to Jamaica. I was not foreign. I was going home.
That's what I'm saying. You never even think like you leave Jamaica at all. It's like you think you like your parents, you just go back home.
Exactly. Exactly. But not until I got there, I was told I was not home.
So hold on. How long after you land did you realize that you were not home? When did that realization came to you?
As we land. I'm telling you, we came to Jamaica. I remember my mom and me and my other sister were all dressed in a white suit. And my sister Jean was dressed in a peach suit. But we all came to Jamaica on the plane, fully dressed up, heels, suit, looking beautiful, looking glamorous. And I remember getting off the plane and one of the guys in the airport, one of the Jamaican guys in the airport going, the angel them arrive, man, the angel them arrive. Straight away, this was going to be a different experience because you don't get off at Heathrow or Gatwick and anybody tell you he's an angel. No, you don't. But yeah, we got off in Kingston and we were angels. And the trip pretty much followed that line all the way.
So is there anything that surprised you on that trip that you say, oh, you never know this going to Jamaica?
Do you know what did? You know what did surprise me, Lance? Is the love of country and Western music. I love country and Western music. I didn't know that Jamaicans equally loved country and Western music. I have some cousins on my other side, on my dad's side, who were very staunchly Christian and this, that, and the other, but they listened to country and Western music as well. So it was oddities like that I was like surprised that Jamaicans had this love of, Dolly Parton and
Kenny Rogers,
Kenny Rogers and all those things because I loved them already before I got there, but that was a little secret. When I got there and there were so many other people, I was really in my element. So those things surprised me. I suppose what did surprise me as well about Jamaica on that first trip was that colorism, the fact that, as Ranchi was describing, people of darker color not getting jobs because they were darker. How could that type of racism exist in Jamaica, which is in itself a black country? I didn't understand that. That was shocking. I think as well the way rich people behaved I was very shocked that Jamaican rich people seemed to look down on the rest of society and scorn the rest of society in the way they did. I was horrified by that, absolutely horrified by that. So the rich and the powerful were a new introduction to Jamaica for me that I didn't particularly like, I didn't particularly understand, and was shocked by.
And it didn't matter what complexion they were.
No, I didn't know that people were allowed to speak to somebody else in such a rude and aggressive manner just because you've got money and I don't. That was my first introduction of that in Jamaica. I was really shocked.
So in all the years in England, you never said that at all.
No, but I suppose there's an element of I hadn't mixed with people with money, rich people and power in England to see that.
Yeah.
As I described to you, I mixed with my community.
Yeah,
I had white friends, I had Asian friends, and perhaps I mixed with people who were middle class. But I didn't in England mix with rich people. And when I came to Jamaica and I had the opportunity to mix with rich people, it was, to my mind, there were people that I didn't want to mix with again. They seemed very rude, although not to me.
You understand? No, man, I understand exactly what you mean, man.
Very rude and very aggressive when it came to somebody who was poor and somebody who I thought was less than. I didn't understand that. Coming from a very socialist background, coming from the background that said everyone is equal, coming from a background, particularly, my schooling was around, helping people, being conscious of the fact that you have more than others, and therefore charity and volunteering were very much a part of what we do as human beings for human society. To go somewhere where how rich you are matters so much was a real shock to me, and that was Jamaica, and I had not expected that at all.
Yeah, I too am disappointed in that, Pet. It's almost like in Jamaica, you're exposed to how people treat the hired help. Not good at all. It's not good. And that's, in a sense, it is. And you're right. When you come here, you don't see it as much. Racism exists here, but that's a different, I don't know what they call it in Jamaica. It's a different type of classism that we're. If you have money, you think you can treat people a certain way. It is a bad underbelly of Jamaica, and I don't know how we're going to fix that. But it is. It is. Ranch, you understand what Pet talking about?
Yeah, no, I think it would be like classism, but just, I don't know, like based in like hierarchy. And I'm not like, I guess not shocked, but it does make sense because I can't name like specific instances here, except with like restaurants and things like that and how people treat like service workers. But it sounds like it's much more like overt in Jamaica as a whole. So
yeah,
and I feel like people treat service workers tough even if they're like don't have the money to. So yeah.
Yeah, but what's that's a good point to bring it up. Why I think that is Pet, where it is almost. Because I don't think that it don't exist here. Why I think it's just so exposed more in Jamaica than here or in the UK.
Do you know what, Lance? Now, as I've traveled the world, that I've seen that behavior is replicated in so many countries. Jamaica was my first experience of it, but I've seen it all over the world. I've seen it in Egypt. I've seen it in Vietnam. I've seen it in Israel. I've seen it in the places that you don't see it are, for example, so you wouldn't see it somewhere like the Netherlands or Sweden, where there is this very much, the societies are built on helping one another, on bringing up your fellow man should they have less and you have more. And I think that it's very much a cultural thing. I don't think in Jamaica there's an element of colonialism, but I don't think that's the only thing. I think in African societies, it's also very prominent. And therefore, I think it's an affliction of mankind that we still have not yet got over. So you can see it in so many communities around the world, but it's not something that is right up in your face in the UK or other European countries.
Yeah, no, I think it's a mankind thing, Pet. I don't think it's a color thing. You're right about that. I think some societies look like they have evolved more than others, where it's like they know that treating other people with disrespect, no matter where you come from or the money you have, it's almost, and it's not a law. You know, you can't pass a law to fix this. You know, it's not a law thing. It's a cultural, it's an evolution thing where people realize, if you cooperate, I don't know, for three people respect you, you build a better society. But some societies don't reach there yet at all.
But you know what, Lance, where they've tried that, I mean, communism was supposed to be that, but look at communist countries, China, Russia, they have that rich echelon that's still treating everybody else like rubbish, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm
so
saying.
Even where they've tried to do that, it hasn't actually worked. But what is it that, like somewhere like Sweden, what is it that they do differently that the rest of us are not doing, where it doesn't even seem to exist there?
No, but you're making a point. I'm making a point. That's what I'm saying. It's not something that can be forced onto people. It cannot be. It's almost like an evolutionary thing where people have to learn. When you respect each other, you build a better society. And I don't know if it's time we take care of it. I don't know. You're right. How does other society do it? Is it time or is it? I don't know, Pet. I don't have the answer. That's something I never think. But Rand, do you have any thought on it in terms of what we're saying?
Yeah, and I think it kind of like referenced back to something like Antipet was saying. I think we like come from a really like an individualist society and like focusing on like your own greater good or like anyone else's. And it's funny again because obviously we talked a lot about like the importance of communities in Jamaican family. So it's funny to see that it doesn't translate over to like Jamaican societies as well as like what it's sounding like, you know? Because I feel like they also fall into like the individualism, which is why we have like issues of just like classism all around. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it is a difficult. It's a complex subject, but I do have the answer for that. I asked a good question. How some societies do it, and you don't see it in some societies, but you clearly see it in others. And it's not. You can't blame colonialism, but that's not the answer. That's not the answer at all. It is not the answer at all. I mean, and I don't know. That is that in a sense that above my pay grade, as we say. I never think about that one before. So, so what was the most pleasant memory you have from that first trip to Jamaica?
Oh, there were so many, Lance. I mean, you and Patrick were fabulous, took us all round the place. Richard was lovely. We went out clubbing, we went church, we went and everything in between. We went to Reggae Sunsplash, that was fabulous. I remember you, Lance, saying to me, come, see your bed, yeah? And you sat down on the road and lay back on the tarmac. And I thought, okay, let me try that then, no? And it was all right. It was all right. It wasn't bad. So yeah, I think there were so many wonderful memories. The fact that it was so hot. I don't know, what was that guy name who lived next door to Sister Lily, who was a doctor? What was his name?
Arville, yeah, my good friend, yeah.
Orville, yeah. I remember he was just training to be a doctor at the time, and I got bitten all over by mosquitoes one evening out on the veranda. And I remember him, checking out all of my mosquito bites. And it was the first time I'd had the experience of a Jamaican doctor who was not only checking my mosquito bites, but checking me out as well at the same time. So, yeah, so it's experiences like that are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me laugh just thinking about it. But yeah. So yeah, there was lots of Just wonderful experience. But spending so much time with cousins was fabulous. And cousins we felt we knew. Cousins we felt we knew because we always knew about Sister Lily. We always knew about Lance and Patrick. We always, so there was names and places, Kitty, Richard, Sophie. We always knew that you were family and that you were family in Jamaica and that at some point in life we would meet you. So I think it was that the ease, Lance, the ease with which we hung out together, the ease with which we talked with one another, the ease with which we laughed and joked and shared stuff with one another. That ease, I don't know if all families have that, but I've found that everywhere I've gone with both my mother and my father's family is an ease of dropping into the wider family.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that, Peter. I'm not sure if all families have that, but you're right. It's like we're comfortable with each other, and it's like it's not like I just said, it's not like a lovey-dovey thing where it's not a pretentious thing at all. It's just a real relationship where we're comfortable around each other, and that was good. But you're right. I just don't know if other families have the same experiences. So. And I suppose this is one of the reasons why I like doing these conversations. I will know, because some people come to Jamaica and it's like a totally different experience them get from what they get when they come in 88. So.
Yeah. Do you know what? I had a friend, an African guy, and his partner, she was Jamaican. And the first time they visited Jamaica, he said they were at the resort. And he'd said to her, okay, let's go outside of the resort. Let's go exploring. And she, of Jamaican parentage, had said to him she was scared to go outside of the resort. And he was like, what are you scared for? These are your people. I mean, he was African. He was saying, these are your people. What are you scared for? But she obviously got some representation of Jamaica that I've never had. She obviously didn't have a very Jamaican upbringing like I did, so she would feel comfortable and natural in Jamaica and that it was home. So some people have had a very different upbringing and their understanding of Jamaica is very different.
Yeah, but I'll finish it up. You have to recognize not everybody have the same set of families, because you came to Jamaica. You didn't go to a resort. You didn't stay at a resort. So you come and visit. You come amongst family, and it's like you're living the real Jamaican life. It's not like you take taxi by yourself, for take taxi by yourself. It's like most people who visiting back Jamaica for the first time, like you did, couldn't take that chance there. Couldn't take that chance because them just don't know. They just don't know. It is a different thing completely. So I mean, if Ranchi got down, or Ranchi have family down here, so she could have known. Because let me ask a question then. Could you have gone to Jamaica if you didn't have family and just feel comfortable and go outside and don't know where you are?
I think so, definitely. I think that one second, Lance.
I want to get a nick. I think 6:30. No, she said before 30.
Okay. Sorry, my little one's just arriving back from a trip out.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry about that. So yeah, do I think I could have been comfortable and have the same experience had I gone to a resort? Was that the question?
No, the question is, could you just have come to Jamaica by yourself at a resort and then the society go out there and go explore the real Jamaica for yourself? Could you have done that on your first trip? Let's say you didn't come with your mother and your sister, and you didn't have no family. You don't have no family connection, because it sounded like your friend didn't come or know a family. Could you just...
Yeah, I don't think they went to a resort, so it doesn't sound like as if she had family that she knew, that she was aware of.
That's the question I'm asking. Could you have come to Jamaica and just walk around, even though you don't have no family for a long time, and don't go there, so...
I think I could, because I've been lots of other places in the world. Even by that stage, I had been to lots of other places in the world. At 18, I mean, I had been to Israel, I'd been to Egypt, I'd been to Greece, I'd been to France, I'd been to Spain. Belgium. I'd been to lots of other places in the world, but I think it would have been a very different experience coming and going to a resort and going out. It would have been a very different experience to coming to family, going to the places where family go, being around family, having that security and that fun that we had. We had lots of fun that summer.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. This two Jamaica really, that's what I'm saying. The resort Jamaica and the real Jamaica. I'm put it that way there, because when you go on the resort, you go to the beach and it's almost like a sheltered environment inside the resort. And when you go outside, yeah, I get you. No. Ranchi, you have any questions?
And I have one quick question, and kind of just like, obviously, when you went to Jamaica and you were like, you're shocked that other Jamaican people didn't think you were Jamaican. Did that stop or like affect you in any way, or like make you think that maybe I'm not as Jamaican as I thought I was, or it just didn't matter?
Nah, man, I just thought they was wrong. Them don't know. Come see and know I, all of those types of things. I really did think, they got it wrong. But I think as the years have gone by, I can understand that perspective. I can understand somebody not thinking that I am as Jamaican as them, because I wasn't born in Jamaica and I wasn't brought up in Jamaica. And now I see myself. I lived in America, as Lance knows, for a little while, and I was glad after that experience to be English, to be returning to England. So I think I get the best of both worlds now. I can be Jamaican as a Jamaican citizen, and I can be English as an English citizen, and I can be both. I don't have to be one or the other. The history from both make me who I am. And I like to think that it's the positives out of both of those societies that makes me who I am. So I don't think I'm not Jamaican, but I am also English. I am both. I'm a representation of those both. And the beauty from both of those cultures is all wrapped up in me as a human being. So why not enjoy and express both of those?
Yeah. Do you think you could live in Jamaica?
Definitely.
Permanently?
Definitely, I think I could live there permanently. I don't think I would have an issue. The only reason why I am not planning on doing that is that my partner, Delman, who lived in Jamaica as a child, is very clear that it's a very different Jamaica to what it was when he was a child, and he has concerns about security. So he's not of the opinion that we should live in Jamaica permanently, but that we should, and he's a Jamaican citizen as well. So we should, as Jamaicans, we should have a stake and a claim in Jamaica that is not just about us, but is about our children and our grandchildren as well, continuing that stake. Because I mean, he's of an opinion that the Chinese are taking over everywhere if we allow them to, and why should we? So yeah, definitely I could live in Jamaica, but it's not going to be something that realistically is going to happen full time because of his concerns.
Yeah, I'm right about that. The security concern in Jamaica is my biggest concern, and it's like it is troubling. I will put it that way. I've not been back there for 6-7 years, but as you know, I grew up in Jamaica, so I understand it. Maybe even better than Dillman, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. It. There is a certain, and I can't put my finger on it in terms of what can turn it around. I talk to people about it all the while in terms of that, because I think if that is fixed, where Jamaica is a more secure place, we couldn't keep the amount of Jamaicans that want to go back home. We couldn't keep it out at all. Jamaica would be a robust and a rich country if we could have get that fixed. That's how I say that. I just don't know how that and it might have to do with what we talked about earlier, where it was like we don't evolve yet, where we need to treat each other with respect. I don't know. I don't have the answer, Pet. I just don't have the answer. I just a thought I got through my mind. It's a big problem. It is a big, big problem for me to say. Because I know Ranchi.
But I also think,
Yeah, go ahead, Pet.
sorry, Lance, I also think we ought to and we should not just think about being back home in Jamaica, but actually taking the beauty of Jamaican and Jamaican people all across the world. There's no reason why we shouldn't migrate to every corner of the world, because no matter where we are, we bring something more to a society. And that's the particular point with British society. British society has to recognize that, as you say, when our friends, relatives, loved ones arrived here on the Windrush, we were bringing something more. And I think what we don't do in British society, and is something I've always been interested in, even as a child, is to recognize that Black Britain is something that was first recognized back in the 1500s. The first Black person to be in Britain, written, recorded, was from 1500s. Therefore, we have been here a long time, and we have influenced this society to be what it is. And the influx of migrants off the Windrush was just another time where more of us came. But we were here before then. It's not like we just arrived.
No, right. I'm of the same view like you in terms of say, but I want your Ranchi thoughts on this. In terms of Ranchi, would you or could you live in Jamaica?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I probably just couldn't. I don't know. I think like I've just gotten accustomed, and like I obviously grew up and was raised here in America. So even just that would just be like a cultural shock for me. I would love to visit in like that capacity, and I feel much more comfortable in Jamaica now at my current age than like I ever did before. I think my last trip in 2021 really solidified that for me. And I think a lot of it because it's my first time going, by myself unintentionally and like going through security and customs and just like being around family just like as Renche and not like Lance or Angela's daughter. So I don't know. I think I probably couldn't over like logistically, but I would love to visit maybe like a long-term stay, like a month or two, to like feel like I'm living in Jamaica, but like still can go home. So yeah.
And the man at the airport have a brand new, I said, look on her foreigner.
Exactly. So felt nice.
But my view on this, Pet, I am on the same page like you. I think we are world citizens. And in a way where I think the future is on the line in terms of that. I don't think it matters where you live physically. I just think we can live anywhere we want to live. And I think we're getting to there. I mean, that's how I see it. I might not live to see it because I am in my 60s, just turned 60 last December. But that's where I think the future is. I don't think it matters where you live. I just think it doesn't matter how you communicate and how you deal with people. And you can choose to live where you want to live and where you feel comfortable living. That's the way I see
I am
it.
looking forward to going to Australia, to Sydney, to hang out with other Jamaicans in Sydney.
Yeah.
I understand there's a thriving Jamaican community there that is real fun, and I'm looking forward to making that trip. I'm also wanting to go to Japan, where there are lots of Japanese rastas and images of Bob Marley. I'm looking forward to going there. Where did I go? I went to Brunei, and my partner at the time, Dillman, had locks, and they treated us like royalty because of their love of reggae music.
Where is that?
And
where's that? Brunei?
Brunei.
Where is that?
We were on our way to Vietnam. So Brunei is quite close to Dubai.
Okay. That's a country by itself or a city?
Yeah, but Brunei is ruled by there's a sultan of Brunei, so it's a small country. It's a kingdom. And we were en route, and we stayed there 2 days. And they were fabulous. So there's so many places in the world where Jamaicans are welcome, Jamaicans are recognized, Jamaicans are, just yeah. We were in Vietnam, and they couldn't stop touching Dillman's muscles because all the men in Vietnam are small. They're small people.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'd never seen muscles so big. They were just amazed.
Mm-hmm.
But they were so welcoming, so lovely. So no, I mean, similar. We went to Mexico. Mexico was lovely, even though they were, I don't know, had problems themselves. I think at the time they were chopping off people's heads. We were welcomed again like royalty. So there are so many places in the world for us to go and take our wonderfulness. We should.
Yeah.
We should take our wonderfulness all around the world. I mean, there's not many Jamaicans. I always say that to people that don't know. Obviously, there's a couple of million Jamaicans in Jamaica. There's a couple million Jamaicans outside of Jamaica. In numbers, we're very small, but in impact, we are massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, all I said, more Jamaicans live outside of Jamaica than live in Jamaica. So, but the impact is, we punch well above our weight. We punch big time more than our weight. The contribution, and it's like, and if we could just get the base right in terms of, say, the corruption and the crime and thing back in home in Jamaica, we could have, all of us couldn't hold there. You can imagine if the Windrush generation never migrate, Jamaica would be bursting at the seams. If we never leave as a migrants, as a people. And that today we're moving. Jamaicans left to go help build the Panama Canal at the turn of the last century. So it was like turn of the 20th century, not the last one. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so we've always been moving around as a migrant as a people. So yep. So Pet, believe it or not, we have been here a little over 90 minutes. This has been a wonderful conversation, I must say. As I said, come here, I don't have no script. I just talk, and wherever the conversation go. This is where, and I don't know if Ranch have any question that you think I could have asked, Pet, that I didn't ask.
No, man. I really like the conversation. Thank you again, Auntie Pet, for just joining us and sitting here and talking with us. I think these stories are just really important.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's wonderful. Thank you both so much for inviting me. I really enjoy it. But I think again, the fact that we can sit and talk for just over 90 minutes and all of us have a good time is just representative of the wonderful family that we are, the way that we are always at ease with one another and able to converse with one another transcends the fact that, you know, we are in different countries, in different time spaces. We are different ages, different experiences, but the one thing that ties us together is we are family, and that makes that difference.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And I want to extend that to other people who want to come on, because I don't think family is just a blood thing. I think family is, just like you're saying, Pet, is a vibe and a relationship. And I think we all can strive to get that, you know. So that's how I see that. That's how I see that. Is there any questions or anything where you think I could have bring up, Pet, where any thought you want to bring up that I didn't bring up at all?
I think the most important, one of the most important things for me is for people who are not aware of the history of Black people in Britain, is to take that beyond the Windrush generation, because as I said, we've been here since 1597, if not before. That's the first recorded person that's Black in Britain, and so we're so much more than the Windrush generation, and that's not taking anything away from them. They're a fantastic legacy and history that is held in that. But way before that, and long after that, we will be a presence here in Britain, an influential presence that brings more to society, much more to society than the eye can actually see. And so I suppose I'd like to promote and celebrate Black Britain much more than is done.
Because you identify yourself being Black and British more than anything else.
I identify myself as being black and British as well as being Jamaican.
Okay, I was just going to ask you that.
Neither one is more prominent than the other.
All three
Both
are
are equally
important. That's what I said. Yeah.
and important to me. Yeah.
You're not leaving out none of them at all because you belong to all three. You're black,
There
you're
you
British,
go.
and you're Jamaican. Yeah.
And a citizen of the world.
Yes.
Every now and then, when something gets on my nerves, I'm a citizen
of the
world.
Yeah.
Just because I can, because I'm Jamaican, I can say that. I'm feisty enough and I'm big and bold enough to say that because I'm Jamaican. Other people might not, but hey ho, that's their lookout. They never wake up lucky this morning to be Jamaican, so hey,
Yeah.
I can't help.
That's how we feel. We just think that we can't say and do anything we want. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Jamaican thing, but maybe it's not. But we see other people welcome to come join the conversation from Barbados, Trinidad, Grenada, St. Lucia, Antigua. And I can name out all of the islands, them, and I'm not going this time as a small island. All of the other islands in the Caribbean are welcome to come give their journey in terms of this conversation.
You know, Lance, I look forward to that just to hear their opinion of Jamaicans.
Trust me, Pet. I want to find one of those. And let me just say it. I want to find somebody from one of the other Caribbean islands. Right? Any one of them, just to come. I just want.
I'm gonna try my best. But as I tell you, Lance, them undercover profiling as Jamaicans, but I'm gonna try my best.
I know. So
they're not easy to find.
No. So what give? How you know they are not Jamaican, Pet? Or you test them and know that they're not Jamaican?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, you know, they always let it slip eventually. You know, you say to yourself, something not so quite so right about that somebody, you know, and then they let it slip. Oh, I'm from St. Vincent, I'm from Grenada. I used to say, oh, okay, no, I see.
Yeah. No, man, sometimes, you know, the common thing that Jamaicans have asked is like, I'm sorry, like, Ranchi called me the other day and said, Daddy, what should ask me, like, where you born, or which hospital you born? I'm saying, I should like just say, I'm saying, University of the West Indies, she said, if I'm a Jubilee, kind of Jamaican in the 60s, you know, everybody born a Jubilee. Now, when I ask people them born, I say, I know that I mean, I know which community you come from. When I said hospital, you see what I'm saying? And it's a quite common thing in Jamaica, Pet. And here, when you ask somebody, where you from in Jamaica, everybody at the Kingston, I'm say, okay, let me test him now. Which part of Kingston you come from? And if can't tell him, couldn't tell him Mall Road like how you could have tell him Mall Road, you know. Him don't, but I don't know Kingston. Him just, that's how they give away for most of the time, man. Oh, but Kingston, man, Kingston. Okay. Give me a road now, Kingston. Tell me where Kingston you come from. So, yeah.
Everybody profiling, but it's only we lucky few who are the real deal.
Yeah, man, yeah. But I want somebody authentic and proud of them country to come talk to me, man. I just want somebody to come say, yeah. And yes, I might come in undercover.
That's my mission.
Yeah.
That's my mission now.
I want you to
Mission impossible. I'm taking it on. I feel it's mission impossible, but I'm taking it on. Don't worry.
I want to hear that story of it. I'm curious. As I say, I'm just so curious about all of the stories them. Because all of them different. Even your story this morning is so different. You're so proud. You're aware of the fact that you were born with nature's passport in terms of you had all the sisters who paved the way for you and all of that. This is such a different and an empowering story, man. I love it. And the fact that you're aware that even your son had it different from you. You see what I'm saying? Being male, being black, it's just so different from male sometimes. It's just so different sometimes. So, yeah. Anyway, Pet, this has been... And Ranchi, our Pet, don't have any closing remark before I close out the program here.
Just
for me, just thank you. Thank you both so much. Sorry, Ranchi, to cut you.
No, you're good. I was going to say the same thing. Just thank you, Auntie Pet, for just coming this morning and just sharing with us this conversation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And on behalf of you, Pet, or Lorraine Foster, the farmer, said, or a rancher, Prince, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And God bless us all, and God bless that great, great country of Jamaica, where we can meet and talk. The Caribbean, let me big it up. The whole place, the diaspora, and not excluding nobody at all. I don't want nobody to feel that it's just a Jamaican-centric thing. Jamaican-centric conversation. Anybody who wants to join this conversation from the Caribbean who came to England, or the parents came to England in the 50s or the 60s, are welcome to come. I want to hear the story. So thank you, Pet. Thank you, Ranty, for coming. And God bless us all. And God bless all of the countries in the Caribbean who were part of that Windrush generation. Thanks. Have a good day.
All right. And you take care now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this conversation. Expatriate Memories is grateful to all those who have listened and enjoyed our interesting discussion. And we want you to know how much we would enjoy hearing from you also. If you would like to join in our conversation, we would appreciate if you would contact us via email at expatriatememories@gmail.com. It's fun, it's easy, and it will be memorable. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, wherever you may be across the diaspora, America, or the Caribbean, Africa, Europe, or the UK. My name is Lance Prince. I'm the host of Expatriate Memories, where you, your friends, and family can, for the foreseeable future, come and share stories about immigration experiences. Ever since June 22, 1945, when the Agorese of 1,700 plus pioneer migrants traveling on the HMT Empire Windrush from Jamaica and other Caribbean colonies arrived on England shore, our diaspora has been a melting pot of diverse experiences, cultures, and contacts. What we call the Windrush generation extends from that initial contact with the host community at the Tilbury Docks to the passing of the British Nationality Act of 1971. Every individual story has a unique quality which contributes to the distinctive character of our diaspora. It would be beneficial, therefore, if our great-grandparents, parents, children, and grandchildren of the Windrush generation would come together and take this opportunity to share experiences. An appreciation of the immigrant journey would be enriched and foster greater awareness of the value of their contribution to the host community as well as countries beyond. We know so far that the Expatriate Memories, a series of conversations, has already attracted the support of a majority of thousands upon thousands included in diaspora today. But true success depends on whether we are all committed to making that happen. As far as our model is concerned, it is definitely participative and inclusive. Indeed, you can commit to the process right now by letting us know at expatriatememories@gmail.com that you are willing to join in conversation about memories from your own immigration journey or migration of someone else may have affected you. Thank you so much for your continuing support, and should you have any suggestion as to our reach or content, please contact us at expatriatememories@gmail.com.